What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, and today I want to talk about one player who is going to make or break the New York Giants offense this upcoming season, and that player is left tackle Andrew Thomas, one of the best players on the New York Giants, definitely one of their best players on the offensive side of the ball, and a very important player for the success of the team, as demonstrated by not his performance over the last two seasons, but by his absence over the last two seasons. Andrew Thomas has missed more games than he's played since signing his contract extension 2 years ago, and as a result, the New York Giants offense has sunk to the bottom of the league. Now, he's not the only reason why the Giants offense has been so bad. They've dealt with poor play calling, poor coaching, other injuries other than Thomas, and obviously paramount to all, poor quarterback play. But even still, there's a clear difference in the quality of this offense when Thomas is on the field versus when he is off the field. And he did speak on the Giants Huddle podcast recently about his injury recovery and his status. He didn't make any promises to be back by week 1, but he said that he probably will be. I'll go ahead and read the full quote right here. Quote, "I'm feeling good, just taking my time with it. Don't really have a projection right now, but doing everything that the trainers are telling me, and hopefully I am ready to go. Week 1 is the goal, but we try not to make any predictions, just trying to get ready." End quote. Honestly, I'll say this. That quote, I think he's going to be fine. I think he'll be ready for week 1, but it doesn't leave me encouraged that we're going to see much of him this summer. Obviously, training camp is only a week away. The Giants rookies reported into the building yesterday. They started training camp. They start a week early compared to the rest of the veterans and established players on the roster. But Thomas and the rest of the gang are supposed to report next week. Of course, he'll be there, but how much will he be doing? What will he be participating in? Honestly, it doesn't sound to me like it's going to be very much. And that's not necessarily a big deal. Obviously, you want everybody healthy during the summer, practicing and ramping up, getting acclimated and getting ready for week 1. But just having Andrew Thomas out there by week 1 is good enough for me. I just think this guy needs to be on the field in order for the Giants offense to find success this season. And obviously, I have some stats on that. So I'll also say this about Andrew Thomas. I do think that he is one of the best offensive tackles in the NFL when he's healthy. I'm not the only one that thinks that. He ranked number 10 in a recent poll conducted by ESPN. ESPN surveyed different league coaches, executives, and scouts as well. And they had Andrew Thomas ranked number 10 overall. One anonymous AFC personnel evaluator said that Andrew Thomas was on his way to being one of the most elite players at his position, but the injury kind of derailed things. And I think that is a pretty good assessment of what went wrong for Andrew Thomas. The 2022 season was by far the best of his career. It was the first and only fully healthy season of his career as well. And he played and made every start that season. He let up only 4 sacks and I believe 25 pressures across 700 or something like that pass blocking opportunities. He played over 1,100 snaps that season. He earned a 90-plus PFF grade. He was one of the best offensive linemen in all of football that season. In fact, if you think back on that season, how many times the Giants would call running plays where Andrew Thomas was swinging out in front and making key blocks downfield for guys like Daniel Jones, even Saquon Barkley, of course. The Giants offense really revolved around Andrew Thomas. Their passing attack was better because they had more time in a cleaner pocket with the blind side protected. But in the running game, they really relied on him to do a lot of the heavy lifting, as they probably will this season if he's fully healthy. But again, staying fully healthy has been the issue for him. Now, last season, he suffered a foot injury, a Lisfranc injury, had surgery to repair it almost immediately. So he's had plenty of time to recover. But ultimately still in that recovery phase and hopefully trying to be ready by week 1, but doesn't seem optimistically ready for the start of training camp, though. We'll see. Maybe he just wasn't trying to give away any information. I will say this, Andrew Thomas was at Yankee Stadium recently to throw out a first pitch. Looked fine, was moving around just okay, and threw a decent first pitch, if I must say so myself. So maybe he is more or further along in the injury recovery than he's really letting on, maybe trying to keep things secret and under wraps and not draw too much attention to himself. But again, just really hopeful that he is ready for week 1, considering how important he is to this offense. Again, you think about the running game, a lot of optimism right now for the Giants. Tyrone Tracy Jr. emerging onto the scene. We've talked a lot about him recently. He was recently named to NFL.com's All Breakout Team for 2025. Just did an episode on that yesterday. So you can go and listen to that and hear more analysis on Tyrone Tracy Jr. But again, second-year running back. He had a lot of struggles in front of him with that offensive line last season, needs better offensive line play in year 2. he spent the majority of his playing time last year without Andrew Thomas on the field blocking in front of him. Then you've got Cam Scadaboo coming in, a between the tackles runner, but obviously needing that push from the left side of the line that Andrew Thomas is able to provide. And of course, Devin Singletary. In summary, I like the Giants' backfield. They have three capable running backs. One of them is really high potential in Tyron Tracy. Another one arguably is as well in Cam Scadaboo, who can be an absolutely dominant red zone threat as a runner between the tackles with plenty of power and tackle breaking ability. So they've got some good running backs, but that offensive line in front of them is going to be crucial. And again, that's not just to say running to the left side of the line is going to be more challenging when Andrew Thomas is off the field, but there's more that goes into it. The offensive linemen that he's playing alongside need him there as well, because continuity up front on the O-line is key. You have Andrew Thomas out there at left tackle, and then you have the left guard in John Runyon. Hopefully those two stay healthy together this season, can form that chemistry. And then there at center, you've got John Michael Schmitz, hopefully having that chemistry with everybody around him. The continuity has not been there on this offensive line. Runyon got hurt last year as well for the first time in his career. There was revolving door at both of the guard spots at one point because there were other injuries that caused Greg Van Roten to move over to center. And, Jermaine Illuminor moving from right tackle to left tackle. Everything was reshuffled on the offensive line last year. But having Andrew Thomas fully healthy this season just keeps one piece continuous, and that is the best and most important piece there at left tackle. And I think that John Runyon Jr. last year had some struggles down the stretch prior to his injury as a result of not having great left tackle play next to him. We've talked about this many times before on the channel. Bad football causes injuries. It's no coincidence that the worst teams in the league are constantly injured and that the best teams in the league are usually pretty healthy. That's not necessarily because health equals good football. I think it's because good football equals health. For example, and this is the one that Alex and I love to bring up on this channel, it's a perfect example. Years ago, when Nick Gates suffered that gruesome and near season career-ending injury years ago against the Washington football team, I think they were at the time, when he suffered that injury, he was doing his job blocking fine, but the center, Billy Price, got blown up by a bull rush, thrown backwards and into Nick Gates. Bad football causes injuries is the perfect example to pull from right there. So you'll see that happen time and time again. And obviously, some things are freak accidents and you can't necessarily blame bad football. And I'm not blaming Billy Price by any means, and I don't want it to get misconstrued that way. I think he was the center at the time anyway, but whatever. Doesn't matter. My point being, if these guys can stay healthy, if they can play at a high level and keep their consistency and keep the continuity on the offensive line, everybody will benefit from it. Again, John Runyon Jr. will play better if he's got chemistry with the left tackle next to him, and we don't have to force a guy like James Hudson III into the lineup midway through the year. Again, Andrew Thomas has missed 18 games over the last 2 seasons and played in only 16, so he's over 50% of games missed. And that's really crucial considering how much the Giants are investing into him. They paid him to be one of the highest paid offensive tackles in the NFL a few seasons ago, and they've barely seen a return on that investment. And some of the stats that I mentioned earlier that I want to bring up, relating to the Giants offense from last season. Like I said, in 2022, he was a second-team All-Pro with a 90.3 PFF grade across 1,173 snaps, only 23 pressures and 4 sacks allowed, and an 81.0 run-blocking grade as well. But let's take a look at that 2022 season. The Giants averaged 21.5 points per game, which ranked 15th in the NFL, and they surrendered only 49 sacks. In 2023, the Giants offense scored only 95 points, 14 points per game in the 7 games during which Thomas was sidelined. When he was on the field from week 9 to week 18, they scored 171 points. That's 19 points per game. That's an increase of 5 points per game when Andrew Thomas was on the field versus when he was sidelined in 2023. And I do think that's really notable. Now, last year when he was on the field and when he was off the field, it didn't make a difference. They still averaged only 16 points. The Giants were terrible last year. We all know that. That's not a surprise. And the offense was really bad. But again, I do think in that 2023 season, there is a pretty clear indicator that having Andrew Thomas healthy and on the field leads to a better offense. 19 points per game was close to that 21.5 points per game that they scored throughout the entirety of the 2022 season when he was healthy for the majority, actually for the entirety of that season. So again, having Andrew Thomas on the field, it impacts the way that the game is played for the Giants. It keeps continuity on that offensive line. And I do think that with a quarterback like Russell Wilson, it's really important to have good offensive line play in front of him. The reason I say that is because Russell Wilson throughout his career actually has a very high sack rate. I believe he is 8th in sack rate over the last 5 seasons, or maybe he's 5th, somewhere in the top 10 for sure, meaning that when he's pressured, he does tend to take a lot of sacks, and he's often just sacked. And that's a result of him holding the ball and looking for deep shots, and you kind of live or die by that with Russell Wilson. We've mentioned so many times how he is one of the best, if not the best, deep ball passer in the NFL right now, and the Giants want to take advantage of that. But they need a couple of things: good offensive line play in front of him, and obviously accuracy and good play calling from the quarterback position or head coaching position. All those things intertwine together to create a good deep passing attack. But Russell Wilson is only going to hit as many deep passes downfield as his offensive line allows him to, because those plays take a while to develop. Those long developing routes downfield and those more difficult deep passing concepts, you need some time in the pocket. So if we want to see this Giants offense get maximized and hit those deep shots, we need Andrew Thomas healthy. And obviously that will help Russell Wilson be pressured less and take less sacks, because again, he does take quite a bit of sacks, and again, the running game as well. So just a quick breakdown here on Andrew Thomas, really hoping that he's able to stay healthy this season. Once they do report for training camp next week, we'll find out whether or not he's practicing. And the first place that you can look to get an update on Andrew Thomas and his health will be right here on Fireside Giants. We'll be very quick to give you guys the update on his health and on the health of anyone else entering New York Giants training camp. Training camp is going to be a lot of fun. The content on this channel is going to really increase. You're going to see a lot of episodes breaking down the practices, reacting to them, and giving you all of the news that you need surrounding, of course, Big Blue. So make sure to stay tuned to Fireside Giants. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. Comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you listen to Apple or Spotify, make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, I'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one. And let's go New York Giants.
Perfect.